Greetings, dear friends. You continue to feel very close to us by sharing your own reflections and circumstances throughout this spring in response to what we have offered from Stillwood, our home here in the Smokies.
We've been hearing from folks all over the world. For instance, this email reached us from the Caribbean island of Saba. It says, "It is difficult for many to be alone and to have hope in these times of isolation. Before coming to Saba, we were mostly isolated in Falls Village, Connecticut, near the Berkshires, where the landscaper you once spoke of plans to move. It was such a sanctuary for me, but not so much for my husband, who felt the isolation much more keenly."
Another viewer commented on the value of little acts of kindness that we have mentioned and concluded by saying, "At the end of my mom's 101 year of life, when she couldn't do the acts of kindness that were so much a part of who she was, she told me, well, I can always smile at people." And smile she did. She lived in hope her entire life and gathered people together, a community of hopeful people.
And looking at life choices from another point of view, a friend from nearby Asheville wrote to say that she had been encouraged to stay true to her commitment that each Monday would be her special day off. She writes, "Your reflection helped bring me back to surrender, letting go, being still, and to receive what would be missed if I'm not in a contemplative mode."
I've noticed recently that a relatively new word, quietude, has turned up frequently in emails, and it raises a question I'd like to toss out to you, our viewers, as we, hopefully, come to the final phases of this pandemic. Many began their time of isolation by listening to music, watching the news, and looking for interesting movies to fill the quiet around them, and maybe a newly recognized sense of emptiness within as well. My question is this: are you now depending less often on these distractions because you have discovered how natural silence opens your own mind and heart? One friend wrote saying, "I take comfort in knowing there are other people like me out there who also crave the silence and solitude. Above all, I take comfort in knowing that you and Paul are there, pursuing your ministry to those of us who need some direction."
Well, affirmation like that is always good to hear. But we're actually just offering the fruits of our own experience over the years. We hope you all realize that any spiritual energy that you may find in a word from Stillwood is a force emanating from all the viewers. The words we say, the feelings we try to convey, are being received and returned by all of you. In truth, we are all being blessed by one another's gifts.
I have to emphasize that Paul and I are among the very most blessed. In gratitude, we would like to share with you some insights from a book we have loved for years. It is entitled Hope for the Flowers by Trina Paulus, who, by the way, is my second cousin once removed. I think that's right. The subtitle calls this a tale partly about life, partly about revolution, and lots about hope for adults and others, including caterpillars who can read. We consider it a parable of how we learn the hard way what we are meant to become. There is this caterpillar whose name is Stripe, and mostly he just follows his instincts to eat and to grow and to long for something more. He joins other caterpillars who are reaching for the sky by climbing up and up over one another until there is a caterpillar pillar reaching higher and higher into the clouds.
I like what comes next when another caterpillar in the pillar, her name is Yellow, asks, "What are we doing?" And Stripe admits that all he knows is that they must get to the top. Unfortunately, getting to the top involves crawling over any other caterpillar in the way. But now, Stripe has a problem. He asks himself, how can I step on someone I've just talked to? Gradually, Stripe's belief about getting to the top starts to erode.
Yellow gives up the struggle and allows herself to be pushed back to the bottom. She misses Stripe and feels torn within herself. Heartbroken as she is, she clings to the one thing she knows. Somehow, waiting and not being sure is better than action she couldn't believe in.
So one day, Yellow sees a gray-haired caterpillar hanging upside down on a branch. He seemed caught in some hairy stuff. "Can I help?" Yellow asked. "No, my dear. I have to do this to become a butterfly."
Butterfly, Yellow exclaims. What is that?
"It's what you're meant to become. It flies with beautiful wings and joins the earth to heaven. It carries the seeds of love from one flower to another. Without butterflies, the world would soon have few flowers."
Well, how can a caterpillar like me grow wings?
Well, you have to give up being a caterpillar. No, you won't die. What looks like you will die, but what's really you will still live. Your life will be changed, not ended.
So Yellow decides to risk becoming a butterfly. She finds herself spinning dark stuff around her body. Gradually, she falls asleep and lets go of her fear. When she yawns, she accidentally tears a hole in the cocoon and light pours in. Oh, how she wanted that light. As she struggles to break free, her damp wings unfold, and just when she feels herself falling, they flap and waft her over to a bright flower.
So, you may be asking, what about Stripe? Did he just eventually fall from the top of that caterpillar pillar and die?
Remember, love is life-giving. So Yellow flutters around the caterpillar pillar until she catches the attention of Stripe. He recognizes Yellow's eyes in this glorious butterfly, and she urges him to give up the struggle to reach the top.
Well, by now, Stripe has learned that there is nothing at the top. He, like others, would get pushed off, and only death awaited him. But something in Yellow's eyes promised him that death did not have to be his end. With Yellow's encouragement, Stripe lets himself be pushed to the bottom of the caterpillar pillar. Though bruised and doubtful, he lets Yellow guide him to a branch where a torn cocoon hangs. She assures him death in a cocoon would only be temporary. Instinctively, Stripe begins to spin. It gets darker and darker, and he is afraid. He feels he has to let go of everything. But one day, the cocoon cracks open, and light pours in. Stripe shakes off some stickiness, and he feels wings unfurl on his shoulders, lifting him up to where Yellow is waiting. Together, they flit from flower to flower, nourishing them with the seeds of love that they leave behind.
The book ends with both a hope and a warning. Without butterflies, we will have fewer and fewer flowers. What we need are caterpillars with courage to go through dark times and be changed.
Caterpillars with courage. I like that.
Thanks again for joining us, and thank you for sharing your own thoughts and insights so we can pass them along to others. Oh, and by the way, if you are interested in a copy of Hope for the Flowers by Trina Paulus, there are free and discount copies for sale on Amazon, eBay, Kindle, and Audible books.
So now, while this will be our final word from Stillwood, for now, we will continue to cherish you, our friends, and pray for your courageous response to these changed times we now live in. Resist the temptation to look back. look ahead to the bright promise awaiting all those who place their trust in love and life. What has joined us together over these past 10 months will surely last a lifetime.